Yep, that's good. All right, so I've got an update for you guys a few months later. Do you guys remember my Infinity FX50, which had a problem with coolant overfilling in the coolant reservoir? So here's the minimum level, there's a max level, and you can see where the coolant is right now. Can you see that? Well, this is about 1.5 weeks of running and just watching it. I went through possible cause analysis, and I basically had a suspect map, and I came upon the realization that, well, there are a few different possibilities, right? The first time I'd made this video, I said that the first thing is that I just need to bleed coolant. That's an easy one, doesn't cost money, I did it. Second possibility was that the radiator cap was bad, which again is pretty cheap, I did that. Third possibility, which could be if you constantly keep overfilling the reservoir, you could have a head gasket breach. And what happens with that is that usually, the way I've seen coolant breaches is that whenever your engine is running and it warms up, you'll see bubbles in the coolant reservoir. My coolant reservoir was not doing that. It was just rising very slowly, very gradually. And I did, again, the test is that I filled the system and I bled the system, and then I left the reservoir empty. And it would take about 2 weeks or so for coolant to go above the max level. However, if I went on a long road trip, for example, you would and you didn't catch it, you didn't pay attention to it, basically coolant would fill up all the way to the top and then come out through the overflow. This one usually goes over here, and we'll do a deeper dive into the system. So the other possibility was that I have a blockage somewhere, but I was wondering, well, where's the blockage? Because my coolant temperature is usually good. It's just that I'm losing fluid. Fluid is coming from the system and filling up over here. So if you look at the system, when you go through the radiator, right? Radiator, wherever that is, somewhere in there, and then comes down through the lower coolant hose into the thermostat. I was suspicious that the thermostat, there was something going on over there. And when I looked at it, I saw some RTV, and I was concerned because this part is not supposed to have RTV. But then I remembered in the history of this vehicle, when I was looking at it, the previous owner had to replace their radiator. And usually, right around that time, a lot of people with good intention end up replacing the thermostat as well. I know that he did not do this job at a Nissan or Infiniti dealership. One, because there was RTV over there, and two, there was green coolant because Nissan would have used blue coolant in this vehicle. By the way, color doesn't really matter too much, but just according to the age of the vehicle, but we'll talk about coolant colors. I do have a video on coolant colors, so type my name and coolant and you'll see something on that. So I was suspicious about what kind of thermostat they used, and so I went here, I opened the system up, and here, this is a thermostat I got. And as soon as I opened it, I started saying, this is not right. I've played with enough Nissan thermostats in my life to know, like, the fit. It just wasn't right in there. So this right here is a Motorrad, right? Yep. There you go. It's an aftermarket thermostat. And the correct thermostat is supposed to be this one right here for the Infiniti FX50. This is the part number. It's shared with a lot of different vehicles, by the way. And this is what it looks like. So the first giveaway is that I saw it and I could not see the Nissan anywhere, when I looked at it in front. And I think just looking at it, this one seems flatter than what you have here, right? What's poking. And then when I pulled it out, the fit and finish, as I said, this one seems to jive better with its gasket. This gasket seems flimsy. On the back side, if you lay them side by side, like this, look at the springs. This is I'd say 4 coils on the main plunger side. And here you got like 3, 4-ish, 3.5-ish, and they seem pretty thin. And then on the minor plunger, this one has 4, pretty resistant. Here you have 2, but they're really, really strong on that side. This one, just kind of weak, basically, is what we have. So those were the main things, and I usually say this. I've said this in the past. Obviously, these guys don't know me, and when they did the job, it was an emergency, so they haven't watched Edboy videos. But Nissans do not like any aftermarket thermostats. Never use aftermarket thermostats with Nissans. And I'll tell you another big thing about this thermostat right here. The reason it wouldn't work very well, and why I had issues bleeding it whenever it get pockets of air. Okay, so whenever you align a thermostat, this thing right here is called a jiggle valve, right? This one right here. It's a very, very small hole and basically sort of seals itself. And you're supposed to install this with the jiggle valve facing up. It serves a few purposes. One, I think as it is right now, is that if you've got air pockets, usually, depending on how, based on the design and how it all works out, this hole right here is going to be pretty close to the topmost, the highest location on your thermostat. So if you've got air bubbles, they don't get trapped in the thermostat housing. They don't get trapped over there. The air bubbles would go through here, and you can work it out basically as you try to flush and you run the system. Okay, look at that. This aftermarket one over here has a hole, yeah, and sometimes people usually, again, with good intention, for that main reason, some people usually drill holes themselves. I don't know about the Motorrad right now. I don't know if it comes with a hole or if somebody drilled it. But as you can tell, it's closer towards the center of the thermostat. That means that this hole right here is not at the highest point. And the problem is, you end up, if you have an air pocket that's up here above this ring, the air pocket basically gets trapped up there. Yeah, it's a small pocket, but still pocket nevertheless. And when you have a pocket of air, you end up insulating the thermostat, and the heat transfer doesn't work very well, and you don't get to the wax well, and it doesn't open properly. The second thing, which is weird, right? People drill the hole to try to help, but if you put the hole in the wrong place, it's going to be counterproductive. The second thing is that you have a hole down here. It's so close to the bottom, you pretty much bypass a certain amount of coolant going on to the other side. So again, depending on how you do it, it's not like this was installed upside down, because that would be pretty useless. This is how much air of an air pocket you'd get all the way from here to the top. It was closer to the top, I believe. I'm going to have to look at my footage. I was recording as I was working, but it's just not optimal. So I think I'm pretty confident about this one. I'm going to go ahead and call it that I have fixed my problem with the coolant in the reservoir overfilling. Yes, I will give an update, but for now, what I'm going to do is go ahead and install the proper Nissan thermostat, which I've never really understood why people, I don't know, it's penny wise, pound foolish type stuff, because this is not exactly cheap. It's cheaper than OEM, I think, but the OEM thermostat is like $28 maybe. It's not too expensive. And if you do it once, you don't have to mess with all this other stuff. See, this vehicle landed in the right hands coming to me, because I kind of watched the problem and I was watching it, and I kind of babied it all along. Some people, what you do when you have a problem like that, you replace everything, right? Go replace the radiator, go replace the radiator cap, replace the thermostat, bleed basically drain the coolant, flush the coolant, and all that other stuff. Some people go to the extent of, well, it's overfilling, might as well send some head gasket repair, magic in a bottle type stuff. I had time and I had the patience, so I was going at it systematically, and I think I want to break this down. This is a very good lesson in root cause analysis and making sure you're treating the cause, not the symptom. So the video is way longer than I thought. All I wanted to tell you is that, hey, bad thermostat, but I'm going to do a more detailed video a little later, and we'll talk about, how I came upon this and how good intentions sometimes end up causing bad results. But as I said, I don't know how much this costs. Actually, I can feel the difference, the heft in it. But this is not that expensive. And then the second thing, this obviously did not cause a problem initially, is that the used RTV, and that's how I knew that when I saw the RTV, I was like, ooh, someone has been here that doesn't know what they're supposed to do, because you're supposed to use a gasket like this. Yes, you can seal surfaces using anything else, but when you start seeing hacks like that, you know that whoever was here did not. It wasn't done in an Infinity facility, and if it had been done, it would have been easier. I would have called them and said, "Hey, I know I did not own the car when you guys did this, but you did a shoddy job. You need to redo this." You know, so yeah, thermostat. That's the answer. It's a bad thermostat. Aftermarket thermostat. So I'm going to upload this video. I'm so excited. I don't even have time to edit it. I'm just going to upload it exactly as it is. And this is going to be a good lesson with regards to, one, proper troubleshooting. Number two, being patient and eliminating the causes. And number three, using proper parts designed for the vehicle. Okay, just because it fits does not mean it's the proper thing to use.